Sorry about that. Rudely interrupted by Dean Evans. Anyway, so I don't know how to go back and finish recording, so I'm just going to put that first online. It was like 37 minutes anyway, so it's really long. And so we only have a few more minutes to go. So let's just finish this up real fast. Okay, so we start talking about Pericles, right? And Pericles, the leader of Athens, was trying to do three things for Athens. He was trying to extend its democracy. We talked about that. He was trying to strengthen the Athenian Empire. We talked about that. And then he's going to glorify Athens. So here we are. Pericles rebuilds the Acropolis using dealing league money. And we've seen the Parthenon, and we saw the Propylaea, and we saw the Erechtheion, and all those buildings. And he built all of that within about a space of about 20 years. He hired workers and architects and engineers to come and build these buildings. I might have shown one class saw the video, one class did not. But in the video, one thing they said was that he spent in the first year equivalent of about $1 billion building this. And so a lot of money, but he wanted to make Athens the center of art and culture and economy and really kind of the New York City of the ancient Greek world. That's what he was trying to do, right? And so, again, we said the Delian League didn't really appreciate him using the money to make Athens look pretty, but they couldn't do anything about it anyway because Athens was too powerful. And so of the major building projects we saw on another PowerPoint, the Parthenon, the Temple of Nike, Propylaea, Erechtheion, those buildings are what he built, right? That's his legacy. Okay. There's Pericles, right? The great man. Okay. Now, at some point, Pericles becomes too ambitious. Yes? And, but in a way, a lot of historians look at the Greek world after the Persian Wars and say that the rivalry between Athens and Sparta would eventually lead to war. There's nothing that you could do about that. And that war is known as the Peloponnesian Wars. Okay? So Athens has the strongest navy, Sparta has the strongest army, and eventually those two are going to fight. Sparta, again, was nervous about Athens because Athens seemed to be expanding its influence and creating leagues and things like that. And Sparta, of course, would rather just be by itself and everybody be the same, but Athens is changing and making all these moves. Sparta, in response, creates its own league, the Peloponnesian League, right, of city-states that are close to Sparta. And so they're allied against the Delian League states. And eventually war breaks out. Now, here's what Pericles knows. Pericles knows that the Athenian army cannot defeat the Spartan army in the field because the Spartan army is too great. And so his strategy is not to fight. Now, how do you have a war where you don't fight? The idea is to avoid battle. Okay? So the Spartans are going to come. They're going to march into Athenian territory. They're going to burn crops. They're going to destroy cities, whatever. Athens is going to surround itself with a large wall. They're going to have a port city, and they're going to build a wall between the port city and Athens. They're going to supply the city by sea, and everybody's going to stay in Athens and be safe while the Spartans get all mad and burn things. Now, this kind of screws the Athenian allies because the allies are left out in the cold, and so Sparta's going to go there and burn their city and kill their people, but the Athenians are going to be safe. And so Pericles is going to wait them out. Pericles is going to use his mighty navy to sail around the Spartan allies and jump off the ship and attack them and jump back in the ship and leave. And Sparta is just going to keep swinging and missing the whole time. Eventually, Sparta would get frustrated and give up, and then Athens would win. That is Pericles' strategy. Okay. Now, okay, so here's the problem with that. A couple of things. First of all, you gather a lot of people in the ancient world and you put them all in one place to live for an extended period of time. What is eventually going to happen? Someone's going to get sick, and then another person's going to get sick. And then, in the ancient world, you don't have a lot of sanitation, right? And so plague, a disease, breaks out in Athens and kills thousands of people. And one of those people is Pericles. And so now Pericles is dead, but the Athenians try to keep up with Pericles' plan, even though the city's been devastated. Its population has been completely depleted by this plague that hit Athens because everybody's there living together, right? Now, without the leadership of Pericles, Athens is a little rudderless, right? It doesn't really have a way to go. And there are a couple of other prominent members of Athens who have ideas. And one is that they need to go, they could end the war, because everybody's getting sick of the war at this point. They could end the war by attacking a mighty Spartan ally, conquering that Spartan ally, and then maybe Sparta would surrender. So they choose a colony that's allied to Sparta on the island of Syracuse. Yes, it's not just a college in New York. It's actually an original place that was in Italy, right? And so they go to Syracuse with their entire fleet and attack the city of Syracuse. And in the beginning, it works out really well, right? They are going to defeat Syracuse. It's only a matter of time. So Syracuse calls for aid from Sparta. Please send us soldiers to defend against these Athenians. Sparta sends one guy, a general. And that general comes in a boat, shows up, says to the Syracusans, "You guys suck. This is awful. You guys know how to fight." He whips them into shape. He builds up their fences, and he actually defeats the Athenians. One Spartan guy teaching the Syracusans how to fight defeats the Athenians. Now, the old saying that you might have heard your dad or your grandpa or somebody say, never put all your eggs in one basket. That's exactly what Athens has done here. They've sent the entire fleet to Syracuse, and the entire fleet has been decimated. All their eggs are broken, right? So now it is only a matter of time for Athens loses this war and Persia wins the war. Okay, so Persia finally defeats the Athenians. The Athenians surrender. Now the Spartans. Now the Spartans don't march into Athens and burn it to the ground like the Persians did. The Spartans understand that, again, they just want to keep things the same. They just want everything to be the same as it was before. So what they do is they keep Athens in place, because if Athens falls, then they'll be fighting somebody else in a few years. So Athens is there, weak, not allowed to have an army, allowed to have a small navy, right? Not allowed to have a lot of money, and so they're devastated because of the loss. But Sparta is happy because Sparta gets to be Sparta, and Athens can be Athens again, right? Now, this is a crisis for the city of Athens. It's during this period of time that you have the Hellenistic art begins, the Hellenistic period of motion and emotion. And that emotion a lot of times is pain and anger, right? Things like that. And so we begin to get to that period of art that shows more realism, because things got real in Athens really fast after the defeat of the city by Sparta. It's also the period of time where you're going to have the great philosophers, right? Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Because remember when we talked about China and the Chinese philosophers don't come along when everything's great. Nobody cares about what a philosopher says if everything's going fine. People care about philosophy when things are crappy. So the philosopher comes along and says, this is what's wrong with us, this is how we can fix it. Now, when we meet again in class, we're going to talk about Greek philosophy and what it means. But we need to have that foundation of what is the city of Athens going through at this point that allows Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle to become some of the most famous teachers that ever lived, right? And so that's what we'll talk about next time. Okay, so we're done. Watch these videos, break them up. You know, the 40 minutes is a long time. You don't have to watch the whole thing all at once. But you need to watch them before we have our next assessment. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions.